Hello everybody, and welcome back to the second installment of our tutorial for the Embris Dungeons & Dragons Discord server. I am Garrett, one of the administrators of that server, and I'm going to be helping you through the topic of character creation today. So this topic is one we are going to split into two separate videos, this one and the next one, where this one we're going to be looking at from the perspective of one more experienced in D&D, someone who understands the basic mechanics, the basic ideas of classes, fundamental properties of the game, and different things within it. The other one we are going to be going in as someone new to D&D, looking at it from the perspective of someone who needs to learn the basic idea of D&D, different mechanics such as the difference between action and bonus action, movement, and other such sources. That video will be a little bit longer, but it will go into a lot more detail. Within this video, however, we are going to be looking directly at Roll20 and discussing how to make a character on it, which Roll20 is our primary creation area for characters. As stated before, if you have any questions or need any assistance beyond these videos, Contact a Helper is always open down here in the public channels, and people would be glad to assist. As for how I found this document, Character and Creation Getting Started, if you go to our server information under the information folder, and then scroll up to our first link with Character Creation Getting Started, you will find this document. So, to begin character creation, we are going to be creating a cleric today. I chose cleric as it is an example of a martial and spellcaster mix, which means I'll be able to show how to create a weapon and make sure it is rolling properly, how to create spells and implement them properly within your character, and other such aspects of the character sheet. So, for rules when it comes to character creation, our most stringent rule is that you cannot directly copy another character from media, such as an anime character like Naruto, superheroes from movies like Captain America, Iron Man, etc., or other such characters from video games, and so on and so forth. Though you can create other D&D setting style characters that you may have used in a home campaign that you would like to reuse. So we do use Roll20 as stated for our sheets, and we're going to be looking a bit deeper into that. As for our allowed material in Homebrew, this is a site we'll be looking at a little bit later in the video as we progress forward. So with Roll20, we have two shards that you are going to be using primarily during this process. Character Creation Shard, and then our Tier 1 shard, where you will directly send your character sheet when it's completed. So, in order to find the Roll20 icon, you click on this. It'll direct you to the page. You'll need to make an account, which is free, and you can connect it directly to your email. And from there, you'll see this page where you see our icon for the server, as well as the different players. You scroll down to Launch Game, click that, and it'll load you in. We do have several tools on the left and top right that we will be going over in a later video as to how those work and how that sort of stuff manages. Throughout this video, we will also be clicking between our document over here and Roll20 in order for me to go through it, as this document kind of gives a step-by-step guide to creating a character, similar to what we are doing here. The first thing you're going to want to do is type this command here, !carsheet. This will automatically create a character sheet for you that is blank. So once you've done that and it gives you this message that it's been created, go over to our newspaper icon called the journal, and you can scroll down to the bottom where here you can see Garrett Tin, GM number 1, and from there we open it up and here's our blank sheet. So to start us off, I usually like to choose my race first. So how you do that is you will need to find another source of media in which you can get the information, if you do not already have some. What I like to use is Wikidot, so we're going to go to Wikidot Races, front page. This is a free resource that holds the majority of all D&D content. So here we have the various races that exist within the D&D setting, though there are some custom races that come with Embris that we'll be looking at a little bit later. So for this, we are going to be choosing a basic human in order to speed this video along a little bit. We're going to set that up, and then we click over to here, and we'll be scrolling down. So, while that is all loading in, there's another information place that we will need to set up, which is the character sheet etiquette. So this is basically going to be where we log all of our different things we've created. Our base stats, the different items we've had, what ASIs, which are ability score increases, mean, and log them so that the helpers who approve your sheet and make sure everything is done correctly have the easiest way to know what you started with, and double check that all your stats are correct and everything is running smoothly. So going back over here, we have the ability score calculator. So we use standard point by here. That means you can more or less calculate the amount of stats you have, and here it'll be set up directly to do so. So for a wizard, we want to have our wisdom as our highest. And then from there, we can play around with stats as we deem fit. I'm just going to add a few of these as we want to have a little bit of martial prowess, and I'd like to not have any negative stats on this. But this is where you have that ability to choose how you want your character to be, what influences them, what are their strengths and weaknesses. So now that we have that calculated out with our calculator here, you can see in the bottom it has 27 out of 27 points. We will drag our two screens separately into two separate files. That way I can easily work between the two of them. This is how I do it. If you wish to do it a different way, there is absolutely no problem with that. So strength, we put 14 as our base, 10 for dexterity, 12 for con, 10 for intelligence, 15 for wisdom, 11 for charisma, and there we have it. So with our races, you are able to add in ability score increases. For human, that goes as every stat goes up by 1. But for other races, you do +2 to one race or +1 to the other, as Tasha's Cauldron of Everything has people do. So we'll just do +1 to all here, and we'll label it as human, which leaves us at 15, 11, 13, etc., etc. From there, you can label it yourself. For the sake of expediency for the video, I will be leaving this as it is, but you'll fill in the general idea of where these changes are coming from. That way it is easier for the helper to understand where everything's coming from. Alrighty, next we're going to pop this out by clicking that top left button on the sheet. That way it is its own thing that I can scroll along a bit easier. Alrighty, so with human, we're going to go up to the top here and label ourselves as such. Then we go up here to class and level. So this is where you input the class you are looking to take and the amount of levels in it. So at our server, we start at level 3. As a level 3, we will click Cleric, click on the 1 here, and then put us as 3. From there, the sheet will automatically add in the different aspects of a level 3 Cleric. So Cleric, you get a boost in proficiency to your Wisdom and Charisma. It'll automatically input that, as well as your hit dice. And then down here, it'll input some of the basic Cleric traits, so you don't have to. So with that, we then put in a few additional things we see from our humanoidness. We'll put in our speed up here in the top right. Should your race come with any other types of movement, such as climbing or flying, you simply click the other button above your 30 here, or your blank number before you input that, and you will have them open up and you'll be able to see it. Alrighty, so from there we have our languages we can add in, which if you scroll down to the bottom left of the sheet, you'll see it also inputs your proficiencies, which is lovely, but you have your language box down here. So we have Common as guaranteed by the human race, and then one extra of our choice will go Elvish to be basic. And that is what we get out of our human section. There is variant human and other such sub-races, but you will have to check our website to see if we allow that or not, and we'll be looking into that in a little while. So moving on from our race, let's look at our class, which we are going to pull up the same exact thing with Cleric 5e and then click Wikidot. So here they have the similar thing to the player's handbook you would see, where it shows how many spell slots you have, the different features you gain, and at which level you gain them. And we are able to scroll down to see direct things. So when it comes to hit points for our start, let's see, for Constitution we have a 12. So what you would do there is you can decide if you wish to take average or roll for your additional levels past 1. So for our first level we gain the maximum, which is 8 plus our plus 1 Constitution. So that gives us 9. And for the sake of this video we will be using average, but you are able to roll by going over to the Discord, going to our bot channel, scrolling down to the HP character tracker, and then rolling in here, and then saying something along the lines of name, rolls for HP with this much con, has this much max HP, similar to how this individual did. But adding in your name of your character, so it is easily tracked by our Dungeon Masters. So moving back to our sheet now. Going average, that gives us plus 12 more, as the average is 5, and we have a plus 1. So 9 plus 12 is a good old 21. Put it up here as your current HP, and then down here is your maximum HP, this tiny bubble on the bottom left. So we type 21 there, and now we have our HP set up. From there, we have our hit die, which in the middle, it won't automatically update every time you level up in terms of how many it gives you. So you'll need to automatically input the 3 here. And then also looking up here, we have our death saving throws. Should you go down, you can roll here, and then mark off how exactly you intend to roll, or if you've succeeded or failed or not. Which, once you click it, it'll roll down there, and you can see. And then that would give us a success, so you can mark the bubble here. Moving back to Cleric, we have our armor and weapons all set up down below in terms of proficiency, so now it's time we choose our skills. So your skills are listed over here on the left, and in order to basically designate proficiency in them, you would mark down on the bubble by clicking, say, History if you chose that, and Insight if we chose that. These are based on what your character would be proficient in by your own knowledge or want. So next we have our equipment, where you're able to choose between these two. We will choose a mace for the example of this video. So we look up mace 5e, pull up this Roll20 guide to it, then we're going to add it as a weapon. So you go to your offense tab, and we will go up here and type mace. In order to designate it as an attack, you just click the attack button, and it'll label it as a melee weapon attack automatically, which you can change it to range should you have something like a bow, and it'll automatically switch these to dex weapons. You are able to change these around should you use something, say, like a rapier with finesse, to be strength to dex. And then, of course, if you're proficient in the weapon, you can click this empty bubble, make it black. Automatically it will be clicked, which gives that +2, as that is our proficiency bonus up here in the top left. But with that, that is the basic setup of that. In terms of damage, as you can see, the mace has a 1d6 damage, so you have to input a 1 here, as this little grayed out one is a fake one, and trying to trick you into thinking it's actually wrong. Then you click our drop down menu here, and click D6. From there we go over here and we'll type bludgeoning where it says slash. It's all set. So in terms of output up here in this top, this is who will be able to see stuff you roll. So since I have it set to self, only I can see it. It won't send the message out for all other players that are in the shard. If I clicked all, it would. If I click GM, it will only send it to the Dungeon Master. That way you can have secretive rolls with them. But we do encourage you to use self when it comes to setting up sheets or testing rolls. So to test out this mace we just made, I'm going to click off of edit mode, which is this pencil up here. Now that it's gray, we have that set up. And then you simply click on the mace here. Now that we've clicked on the mace, it's rolled, and you can see it in the chat box over here, where it has rolled a 7 plus 2, giving us a 9 to hit. And then it has rolled a d6 damage, which gives us 2 bludgeoning. With the mace, since we have our strength set to 10 currently up here, if I were to set it to, say, 12, where it has a +1, it would automatically add that +1 since the strength modifier is ticked here. So that is our weapon with the mace. Next, let's look at armor. So we will be using leather armor, as it is the basic armor. And we're going to look up the different stats of it. So to input armor, you will scroll down this middle column where it says armor. Click on the add button, and then we'll type in leather armor. So what leather armor does is it gives you an AC of 11 plus your dexterity. So in order to input that, we're going to go over here, click the self button, and then its base is 11. So we click 11 here, and then it'll do 11 plus our dex, which currently we have it set at 0, as I haven't input anything, but if we do say 13, it will up that to +2 to that 11, giving us an AC of 13. Then up here is your armor class, where you can see the result of all those rolls and all of these additional armors. So with that, we have our armor chosen. We do have our light crossbow here, so we're going to input that as an example of a ranged weapon. Type in light crossbow, attack, click melee over to ranged, and it'll automatically change to dex. So then after that, it is similar to our mace, where you simply input the 1, and then I believe there's a d8 for a crossbow. Type in piercing, and now it's free to launch. When it comes to range also, you do the range of the weapon. So with light crossbow, it gives us a range of 80 by 320. So we go over here and we add to our range section 80 by 320, and then every time you post it, it is going to notify you of the range, so you're reminded. So we got a 12 to hit with range of 80 by 30, or by 320. But that is our weapons and armor. In terms of other equipment, such as the Priest Pack or the Explorer's Pack, we head over to our sheet. You add that down in your equipment section. I'll click on edit mode so I can add stuff. So we type in, say, Priest Pack, and in order to edit it, we will click on this gray gear here. And to save us time, I'm going to simply write down a few random things, but you can write down the notes here. So we'll say backpack, bedroll, and food. But if you look up Priest Pack online, or any pack that could come with this, you can very easily find what the contents are. Alrighty, and with that, we also have a shield. So this will add an additional piece of armor for us. So we type in shield here, we'll go to type, click shield, and then it simply gives you a +2 to AC, if I remember correctly. So with that +2, it will add on to our 13 to make 15 AC, and as you can see, it automatically calculates that in. If you wish to be donning and doffing your shield on a regular basis, say you need to use 2 hands as your weapon, you can add your shield as a modifier instead of equipment. So what that does is it means you can toggle it a lot easier, and many spells you'll want to create modifiers with. So for Cleric, for example, one of our big spells we have is Shield of Faith. So if you're concentrating on Shield of Faith, it will give you that bonus of 2 to your AC. So if I wish to have that 2 bonus, if I'm concentrating on Shield of Faith, I simply put the modifier in here, and then it will adjust this armor class after a little bit of time, as our modifiers do take a little bit of time to activate. Ta-da! So we click that, and then if we also have our shield on, we get the whopping 17 AC. But in general, if you ever wish to turn one of these features off, you simply click this off button here with the check mark. Alrighty, moving forward, we will discuss spellcasting later, as I believe there's a whole extra process. We're going to be focusing on inputting some of the different features of Cleric. So one of the main things is choosing your subclass, which there is no direct button to add subclasses to Roll20. So we will do a basic life cleric here. So we add a few spells with this, which we will add when we get to our spellcasting portion. But with our bonus proficiency, we would scroll down here where it says armor, and you can add that in very easily by just typing heavy armor. That way you know you have it there. Then when it comes to Disciple of Life, we simply type it in there, click on our little gray gear here to activate the settings, and we copy it and paste it. And that's what you're going to be doing with each of these individual features. You can set up additional roles and benefits if you need to, which with Disciple of Life, where it adds in a specific benefit to each healing you do, it'd be easier to simply say we add in X amount when you cast the thing. But for things such as Divine Strike, you'd want to add a modifier similar to this, where you are adding to the damage you deal. So we type Divine Strike, and you can add damage, and you can add it specifically to a different type of damage. So since our Divine Strike goes with weapon attacks, we would add the 1d8 to weapons. And then whenever we roll our mace, it would add in that additional thing. But since we're starting at level 3, that is not a feature we will have. But that is an example of how to utilize that process through the modifier system. Alrighty. From there, we will leave off with the class, as on this video we are simply looking at the general ideas of Roll20. And now we will talk about spellcasting after all these years. So with spellcasting, it is recommended you find a website that allows you to easily find access to the spells and what they do. I use Wikidot as usual, and we're going to recombine our tabs here because there is a special tool that Roll20 has when it comes to being able to add spells. So if we go back to Roll20, click on our character sheet, head back down to it, and reopen it, we are able to basically drag and drop spells that we would like onto our sheet if they're from the PHB and a few other minor sources. So with our cleric spell list, we have a various amounts of cantrips. We're going to grab the light cantrip, as that is something that can be helpful to humans. So I type in light up here in this eye corner with our compendium. And then it is going to take a little bit of a moment to search, as light is a general term. But here you have several spells after the light. So I simply click on the light spell and drag it onto the sheet. And there it is. So as a prepared caster, I'm going to mark it as prepared by clicking this little bubble, which will highlight it and make it red. But as you can see, it added in that description automatically. And then to show how adding it works by hand, we're going to do Toll the Dead as our example. Quickly hop back between these two pages. And we'll go here. So you add the cantrip in, type in the name, and click on our prepare. Then we go cantrip. It is a necromancy, so we'll drag and drop to necromancy. Takes an action to cast, has a 60-foot range. And you basically fill in these various categories for it. And you'll copy over our description of the spell, so it will output that automatically, as well as the higher level one. So since Toll the Dead is a saving throw based cantrip, you have to make a saving throw based damaging type. So here when you click saving throw, it is going to set up DC based on your primary stat. So since ours is wisdom, I'm going to change this up to our 16. And it'll adjust our save DC and spell attack. From there, we want to click on this drag and drop menu, and we are able to set the stat, which for Toll the Dead is a wisdom saving throw. So now, whenever it outputs, it'll say that the creature needs to make a wisdom saving throw or take X amount of damage, which will go down here, type in our 1, we'll put a D12, and then necrotic. And because Toll the Dead is a special spell that has a different type of damage based on if you are injured or not, we're going to add in an additional damage modifier for those who are uninjured. So, now that we have this set with damage-wise, we have the other damage there with the 1d8. We can tab out of that, go out of edit mode, and I'm going to output it so we can see it. Minimize this by double-clicking on the top of the sheet. You can see Toll the Dead. So it's outputted. The DM knows they need to make a wisdom saving throw of DC 13. And that also shows that this is the D12 damage. If you hover over the number, it'll show you what was rolled and any additions to it. And then we know here's our D8 for if that monster is uninjured. But that is adding in spells. There are various other means for spells and various types of spells that hopefully you should all know. If not, we have our questions channel open on how to add them in. With that, we can discuss background. So there are numerous backgrounds in D&D. You'll need another source to find them. There's also the custom background you can create through Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which allows you to simply add in proficient bonuses of your choosing and figure out how you should do it from there. We will be doing the Acolyte background as our example. So hop back over to our character sheet, type in Acolyte. And of course 900 XP as we're starting at level 3. And then here we get proficiency in Insight and Religion, which means we go over here, click Religion, which does not seem to be on the sheet, which this can happen sometimes with Roll20, where it forgets different skill modifiers. How you solve that is you simply scroll down in edit mode, click add, type in religion. In this drop down, we are going to make it a intelligence-based check, as that is what it usually is. And we'll just drag it up to put it in neat old alphabetical order. And now it's basing that, so we'll add that proficiency, and boom. You can also switch around based on if this is different from the class you have. So because we already have proficiency and insight, we could grab another one and say nature, or other cleric-y type stats that come in that cleric selection we did prior. So in terms of other things, you learn 2 languages from this, so we'd simply scroll down, grab something like Dwarvish and Orcish, and fill in that. After that, we could fill in extra equipment within our equipment section here, where we add, say, a holy symbol, and then the other gifts you get from your background. So this is where we start to differ from the average 5e server, as we don't utilize this pouch containing X amount of gold points that comes with every background. You don't add that because with our character creation, you get a set amount of money when you start at a certain level. So at level 3 in Tier 1, you start with 400 GP. So we simply go over here to the GP section and change it to 400. Then you have Platinum points, which is 10 gold points. Silver points, which are basically 1/10 of a gold point, or a dime if you consider gold points $1. Copper pieces, which are 100th, and then the other one that we aren't going to be talking about. With that, you also start with 1 common item when you start at level 3. This can be any common magic item that is approved, which you can find on places like D&D Beyond, like Wikidot, etc. I like to use D&D Beyond because this has a comprehensive list of the items, and then when you see an item that you want to look up, you can do so without needing to buy it, as D&D Beyond is a paid-for service. Now this loads, I'm going to take a quick drink. From this page on D&D Beyond, you're able to grab armor, specifically, and it'll show you armors of various varieties, potions, rings, etc. So if we do armor, we simply click on the common rarity and filter it. So as you can see, you have Armor of Gleaming, Cast Off, Shield of Expression, Smoldering. From there, you could Google those, what they each do, pick your favorite, and generally just have that custom abilities of your choose, customization of your choose based on your character. Another unique thing that we do in terms of our server is with the first level feat. Every single character has access to a feat when they are created. These feats are additional things that will give benefits to your character based on a little bit of customization as to what you would choose. Here's a list of feats that you can find on Wikidot. We have a few extra on our Homebrew section of our Compendium that we are about to look at in a little bit that I will show you. But here you can simply click on, say, the alert feat, see the details, and when you add a feat, you would scroll down here to the feat section, click add, and we'll do alert, copy, and paste. And then with that bonus to initiative, we could add a modifier. Go to our ability checks. And when it sees initiative, we add +5 based on the alert feat, so we will add 5 there. And then suddenly, we have +7 to initiative rolls. And then that modifier will always be on, as that feat is always present. Those are feats, spell slots, and those different aspects of your character. Some races may also give you resistances to various things, or classes, which you could input here, as well as any immunities you may have, and other such things. There's also the dark vision, which many races will give you, and you will mark when you make a token setup. So moving a bit deeper with background, we have this bottom section of the page, which you will have filled out on the left with all of your etiquette things, but we also have your backstory. So in terms of making a backstory within the server of Embris, you will go over to character setup, and you're going to click on backstory verification. From there, you simply create a ticket, and it'll generate a special channel that only you and our lore keepers can see, those individuals who manage the role, who manage the lore of our server that is unique, and make sure that you can get through it. They're here to help you with ideas, help inspire you with your backstory should you wish, and help make sure it fits into the world of Embris. So going to server information, the way to find our lore website is by going to this middle section here with the websites, and you click on our sites.google link for the Embris lore. So this has the general description of all of our places, our pantheon, the origins of the world, which I'm not going to be reading through as there are many paragraphs within it, and I would like to keep this video at least a decent amount of time. But the quickest way to get acquainted with the Embris lore is through our quick guide. So this is a quick guide that's going to give a paragraph or two of summary of every single place and every single god within Embris, comparing them to some real-life equivalent, should it be necessary to help simplify things for you guys. So here we have our pantheon of gods. You can see Vicus, who is our god of new life, beginnings, rebirth, growth, and birth of nature. So with our cleric, we would have to choose one of these gods, or one of the many minor gods that fall under them. So for the sake of speed, we'll look at Vicus. You can click on his page, see his nice emblem that is drawn by our Embris artist Stormy, and then a fable attached to that god that kind of tells you a little bit of the background and personality behind him. From there, you can also scroll down. We have the continents, various descriptions of our areas, and connections there. As I said, we're not going to be going too into detail here, but this is where you find this all for you to be able to do your own research. And as always, there are questions you can ask. When it comes to lore questions, we have a specific channel dedicated to them, which is our lore questions channel. So you simply ask a question here, and one of our lore keepers or another knowledgeable member of Embris will look at this and be able to answer your question. So from there, once you figure that out, you will put your backstory onto here. And then, of course, your character appearance. How your character looks, a few extra descriptions you can put up here for them. If you have any art for your character, you can throw them down into our character portraits channel, which is under the RP folder. So similar to these individuals, you simply post the art, say who it is, such as Queen Carther here. And people are able to see it and give some funny reactions from time to time, like our watermelon from Coma. Alrighty, so now that you have your character sheet for the most part done with your item, your feat, all of your levels inputted, class setup, race setup, all of those sorts of things, we are free to begin making the token, which you will not be doing, but you are going to make your final post. So what you do is simply go over here, we'll call our character Garrett for ease. Garrett's character sheet is completed and ready for the token to be set up with 0 feet of dark vision. From there, the DMs know that you need your character sheet approved, looked over, and then they are able to mark it. You will get a green mark when your sheet is good to go, and usually a message from the DM. The blue mark is when your backstory is verified and completed by a lore keeper, made sure that fits within the world. It is not necessary to have your backstory done until the 3rd session you are playing with that character. So once you do that, also in order to get this black box everybody doing, you use the button above tab, which has tilde on it. You simply hit it without hitting the shift button, and you push that 3 times, hit enter, and you have made a black box. It is important to note how much dark vision you have, because when setting up the token, they will set up that dark vision for it. That way, you are able to see in the dark should a DM post a more dark portion of a mission. But that is our general guide to creating the characters on Roll20. Once you have finished getting the character created token set up, you post in character assignment following this format with that similar black box, and we're going to move it to the tier 1 shard. So to do that, we're going to back out of here and exit from there. We'll go to here, scroll back up to the links to shards, tier 1. Click that. You will have to join it before you can export our thing to it, so you will want to go here and launch game. I'm already in it, so we're going to do this simply by Character Vault. So you go to your tools, Character Vault, and then you import an existing character. So you'll choose a game, we go to Character Creation Shard, And we'll scroll down. You will only have access to a few of these, but since I have a DM, I can use any sheet I wish. It'll be in alphabetical order. We have Garrett Tien, GM number 1, import character. Then we scroll down to here. It's Garrett Tien 1, and we will click choose a game, go to tier 1, and export. So then, we hop back over to my games. We can go to the tier 1 shard. I'm just going to search that up. Launch the game directly from this page. And now it is down here in the bottom of the character folder once more. And then you would post in character assignment, and a DM will assign it to you and put it into alphabetical order with the rest of these. That is our character assignment process. So as our final thing, as promised, we're going to be looking over the other website that has to do with character creation, which is our rules and homebrew compendium. So this has any adjustments we have to base 5e, different rulings within it. So, such as our sage advice, when you have questions like how does total cover affect non-attack and non-spell effects? How do these interact with creature with grappling? These are where you can find these different rulings that have been made by the admin team. You can also go over here to say our races page. If there are any changes, you can look here and see it. So with human, we have variant human banned because everybody starts with a free feat anyway. And of course, you start with a prodigy feat, which would mean we'd go back and add in that prodigy. I recommend looking at this before you submit your character for token setup, because then you can see if you have any buffs or additional things you can add. Otherwise, the helpers will just notify you that you can add that, and you're good to go. Other than that, we have specific things such as the books, where you can see specifically what races are approved, what are banned, background-wise, item-wise, and other such topics from these individual books. In races, also at the bottom is this large chart that shows our approved races. So from there, you can see what's approved, what book they're from, which most of them we utilize Monsters of the Multiverse, the newest book, which you can see the different features they get from that book. But with that, if you have any other questions regarding our compendium, character creation as a process, please feel free to post them in our questions channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.